For literal years, we on this show have banged on and on about the need for a Barry Hearn-type Supremo at the helm of British Speedway. And now, finally, in the Premier League at least, we have it. And doesn't it show? Now, it took a year to look, analyse and digest what was needed, and at last it feels like decisions are being made for the good of British Speedway and not for individual teams. We have sponsorship for the league, lots of sponsorship, and uniformity of presentation. And we have a new professionalism in the sport. It feels like a breath of fresh air. Something that Ty Woffington has been calling for a while now, even if he couldn't quite match the professionalism himself recently. I'm sure there'll be more about that later. That aside, I have to say it's about time. So far, so good. So far, so good for Phil Morris. I may not agree with all his decisions going forward, that's to be expected, but at least I will know that these decisions will be, to use an hackneyed phrase, in the best interests of Speedway. So welcome to the very first Speedway Tavern of the year, sponsored by So-Called Studios, a music production suite and venue based in Acox Green. Check them out at www.socalledstudios.co.uk. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Right, where do we start?
The beginning.
You probably don't want to start with last night, do you?
Probably not. I'm sure we'll come to that at some point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot going on in the Speedway world. Particularly, we're going to be very Premiership centred, I think, today because of there's more been happening in there. But So first of all, what have we all made of the new professionalism, the new media day, and all the things that have been happening?
Yeah, well, I only saw bits of the media day, but I thought it looked good. Mm-hmm. Obviously, having the vast majority of the riders there, of course, not all of them were able to be there for circumstances and things like that. But no, that was very good. Obviously, I think the one downside, as you've alluded to, was Ty's rather potty mouth, which I don't know whether Phil Morris will be having a word with him about that, because I suppose in a sense it comes naturally to him, doesn't it? But it's not really the sort of thing that you want to be having if you're trying to make the sport look a bit more professional, shall we say. But other than that, that was pretty good. There's been some very close matches in the league so far as well. There's not really been any big thumpings yet. Ipswich against Bellevue is probably the only one so far that's been comprehensive. But yeah, I think the early signs are very encouraging. I think certainly for the top league, and I think it shows at the moment the top league is the place to be.
I think so, just for the first time for a while. To be fair,
yeah, absolutely.
I like the fact that there seems to be a uniformity of presentation. Mm-hmm. We seem to be getting through matches very quickly.
Yes,
I mean, which is something we've always done at Birmingham. To be fair, but it just feels as if there's bang, 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 and so there's not so much empty space for people to fill.
Yeah, I think really that's Phil Morris's experience of working in the Grand Prix, because the Grand Prix has always been the same. 4 races, bang, 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 then a track grade, then the next 4 races. Not standing around, especially at this time of the year on a freezing cold night, when you're standing around just watching the tractors go around or listening to somebody babbling away on the microphone on the centre green.
Sorry, Guesty.
I didn't say Guesty's name.
No. So yeah, I mean, it just feels, it's that word, more professional. So have we got any people on the shout box tonight? Let's say hi to everybody.
Hello, Elliot. Hello, Rich. Hello, John. Duncan's there. Andrew's there. And a few others.
Okay.
Dylan's there as well. Yep.
Okay. Pete as well.
Yep.
I actually have to give a big apology out to the guys at Birmingham Speedway. As many of you will know, Birmingham Speedway's got a really, really good set of volunteer workers that put all the tyres down, do all the work on Sunday, do a lot of stuff, and I normally help them out after a match, taking the sheets off and taking the tyres off. Didn't do that last night. I'm sorry, guys. I got a puncture on my motorbike, so I was transportless, and I had a bus to catch, so I do apologise. I do feel bad a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we've got a few. Let's go through. Go through some.
Birmingham are good for the wooden spoon, apparently, says Rich Thomas. Nice.
I hope he's wrong.
Certainly on last night's evidence, they might be.
Oh, God, I hope he's wrong. I mean, look, it's been looking positive the first few meetings. I think we can say we outperformed what people expected of us.
Yeah.
I've got to say, thank God for Scott Nichols. I mean, how old is he? 45?
46,
46? I mean, come on. He should be, in his pipe and slippers, shouldn't he? I don't know. But
there's no need for him to retire if he's riding like that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Evening, chaps. Feels like it's a long time, says Dylan's Buddy Hodgins.
It hasn't been, yes.
It has been.
Oh.
But can we avoid the wooden spoon? I mean, I'm biased. You are a little bit yourself now, probably. It's sort of your team at the moment.
Sitting on the sidelines this year.
Yeah.
You can't say that. It's your team at the moment. Can you imagine that?
I think. Well, let's be fair. I mean, the move to the top flight was enforced really with the loss of the Wednesday nights. It's very difficult to see that Birmingham challenging for the playoffs. I think with the current lineup, they've got to be competitive at home because last season really was pathetic. And
You've got to say that it hasn't been pathetic.
It hasn't been.
Yeah,
the one thing I would say about last night's meeting is that they didn't capitulate, which I think last season probably would have been the case.
Yeah.
But it's not the target. The target this season for Birmingham isn't going to be to get into the playoffs or win the league, but they've got to be competitive. And really, they've just got to stabilise the club. Moving into the top flight is the right thing to do. I said that last season. I thought it was the right step.
And the crowds have been really good.
Yeah, I think certainly the crowd against Sheffield was probably the biggest crowd I've seen there for about 11 years.
Yeah.
That was obviously Sheffield brought a lot and made a noise, as I thought they I knew they would do from experience of standing in front of the Monmouth for all those years. But you've got to say at the moment Birmingham probably do look to be the favourites to finish in the bottom spot. I just think they're going to be outgunned in the big heats.
That appears to be the problem.
The big problem. There's a lot of there's a lot of emphasis going to be on Pavlicki when he's fit, and Milic actually rode very well, I thought, against Sheffield.
He did.
But last night was a bit of a disaster. Of course, switching not forgetting to turn your fuel on is.
Yeah,
it's a bit unprofessional, isn't it? Really, that's a bit of a schoolboy error, I think, for a rider. Yeah, it's going to be a tough season for Birmingham, but I think they certainly need to be competitive at home, and if they can pick up anything on the road, that's a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we've come close. Twice now.
Certainly it was a very encouraging performance at Ipswich last week. Although I think that obviously Ipswich had a few riders that were off form. Emil Sovereign again didn't have a great line last night. Again, he was sort of not quite the Emil that we saw last season.
Year. Yeah. Probably doesn't like the cold. Duncan Pemberton is Scott Nichols' Oxford Kevlar's going to get worn out guesting for other teams. Possibly not, because he's got his TV commitments, of course.
Yeah, I think that rules out any possibility of him racing in the top league, and not just for Birmingham. I think if there was a possibility of him being in the top league, I think there'd be quite a few clubs that would have been knocking on his door.
Absolutely.
But obviously,
particularly as he's now down at reserve.
Yeah, well, but I mean, obviously he's still got, as we saw last night, he's still got lots of points in him as a rider, but he's obviously now looking towards the next stage of his life, isn't he? So
yeah, which Elliot Hunt. It was certainly a cold one at Ipswich on Thursday. The lads did well to keep in it, leading for the first half before only losing by 8 points. My first visit there. I mean, actually, that sort of says it all. I mean, we've let Leeds slip at Oxford. Oxford was different. We let Leeds slip against Sheffield, and we let Leeds slip against Ipswich, and that points to that heat leader strength that you was talking about. Watching
the Sheffield meeting, you always felt that Sheffield were going to nick it at the end because of the strength that they had at the top end of the team. Obviously, Ty didn't have a great first ride, but after that was pretty much untouchable, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
So
and
that's your problem in a nutshell. But then again, he's probably going to be untouchable against most.
You would think so. Yeah, you would think so.
To be fair, this year. Good evening, guys up the beast, says Nick Green. There's been a few positive things happening around the Coventry situation, hasn't there, as far as...
There's a long way to go on that one yet. I think...
but they haven't appealed the decision?
They haven't appealed it, but that doesn't mean they're not going to come back with a completely different application. I don't think we've heard the last of that one yet. As I've said many times, I think stopping them from building on it is probably going to be the easy bit. It's getting the stadium back out of their hands is going to be the tough.
Somebody said we'll be fine without Milik, but he's actually not been... I mean, he had a bad night last night, but and now he had a bad night at Oxford.
Yeah. Had he not had a bad night at Oxford, Birmingham might well have won that meeting, to be fair, which was amazing when you consider the start that was made.
And if you got to say, if Leon Flint didn't break 2 chains and get a puncture, Ipswich could have won that one as well.
Absolutely. So...
Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts. Browne will be fine. Last night was tough, but we'll bounce back. Pietro back at number 1. Thursday will take some pressure off Vaclav. I mean, we do need to say that Vaclav's riding at number 1.
Yeah, he's not the number 1.
And he's not number 1. Riding at number 5 will be slightly... He'll get some slightly easier races.
I'd say the same really for Steve Worrell, because Steve Worrell rode as a heat leader last night, and Stevie's not a heat leader.
No.
Yeah, so...
Brian Rees and Scott Nichols always keeps himself in good shape. I'd also like to hear about people's other matches, that they've been to, not just last night's match. Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts says, I hope I'm in as good shape as Scotty when I'm 45. I don't think you're in as good shape as him now, mate. But too many inconsistent riders for Browne, says Simon Corbett. Yeah, there's some truth in there. Hopefully they can sort... I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
Victor will be fine too when he gets some gating gloves. I don't think Victor's not.
I'll tell you something.
Off.
When he gates, he's blooming quick, isn't he?
He is quick. Yeah.
It's just. I thought that was that probably turned the meeting. Really, he was 8-10 last night when he came off. There was no contact between him and.
There wasn't any contact.
I mean, that was the thing, really. You know you're in trouble when Chris Harris is making starts, because the first 2 races he won from the gate.
Yes.
You're thinking this is going to be a tough one. So,
do we think Browne could be number 5?
Maybe at the end when the new averages come out. He's had a good start. I mean, he was one of the few that really did come out with a lot of credit.
Absolutely,
credit last night. So
got a lot of time for Tom. Yeah. Okay.
I think he needed the move, to be fair, because I thought he was slightly below par for Bellevue last season. So I think, and it's struck that he's always done well whenever he's guested for the Brummies. So the move might do him good.
I mean, the one thing I will say about is that we do seem to have a good team spirit in there, even though we've not won a match yet.
Yeah, well, they certainly haven't been outclassed. You wouldn't say that they were outclassed last night. I mean, I think the big thing really last night was the gating. The gating was horrific.
It was. And unfortunately, we got a bit of a Gators track at the moment because everything's had to be packed down because of the weather.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is, but hopefully that will be sorted out for the next match that I won't be there for. But so if we win the next match and I'm not there, I probably won't go to another one. Can we talk about some of the reffing decisions so far this season? Okay. In particular, the one in Heat 2 last week at Leicester when Joe T was excluded for laying down to avoid Drew, one of the worst calls I've seen for years.
There is an investigation.
There is an investigation about it, yeah.
So explain that to me.
So Joe Thompson, he looked from. I mean, I didn't see it, so but what I've been told is he laid down his bike to avoid Drew, who's sort of careering across, but then he didn't. Drew didn't fall off, as I understand it, and Joe Thompson was excluded. But have I got that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there were other decisions,
and there was a lot of people there that said that he should not have been excluded because he did the right thing. He avoided to avoid an accident.
Okay.
But the only thing I would say about that is, I mean, who'd be a referee? Because the referee has got to exclude somebody. That's the rules.
Yeah.
He's got to, you got to have, what was it, the cause of the accident? And he come off by himself. In effect, he purposely came off by himself.
Yeah, well, there were other ones.
I don't think the referee's got to make a choice then. So who would you exclude? So is there a case for a change in the rules that specifically states if a rider lays the bike down to avoid injury or whatever, or possible injury, that then he's not excluded? Do you think that maybe that's something that needs to be changed?
Well, ultimately, who stopped the race? The rider that came down. So I suppose going by that rule, regulation, that it is the right decision.
Yeah, it's the only decision really that he can make on with the way the rules are. But there were some other
leaving
decisions.
certainly, not seeing that the pole to hold the starting gate was left on the track. I mean, that's
which has now been stopped.
Yeah,
they're not having that pole anymore.
I can't believe it's taken that long to stop that. Because I remember about 20 years ago that happened in Poland when I think it was left on a track in the Polish league meeting, and Jarek Campbell caught it with his bike, and Chris Louis was just behind him, and he knocked him unconscious.
Yeah.
And he pretty much finished his career off. So I mean that's totally out of order to hear that on. That's on not just on the referee. That's also on the stadium marshal and the track staff if they can't see that that's been left on the track.
Well, it's as heinous a crime as forgetting to turn your petrol, your fuel on, isn't it? It's that sort of it should be an automatic thing. You shouldn't even have to think about it.
Absolutely.
Fred Graham says, great to see you guys back on air. Looking forward to watching James Pearson racing for the 2023 champions Glasgow Tigers Speedway in 24 when we get started. However, when that will be, as weather's not great up here for the next 2 weeks. It's not great anywhere, is it, at the moment?
It's not great outside here at the moment, is it? Certainly.
I actually did a bit of research, and obviously this is in the Birmingham area. We have not had one single day that's not had rain of some sort since, this year. There has not been one single day that has not had some rain in it. I mean, that's just...
I thought everywhere was supposed to be getting hotter because of global warming. So.
Well, we're having boiling water, maybe.
I'm looking forward to this global warming.
I went to Bellevue, Sheffield yesterday. This is Elliot Hunt. As well, close meeting at lunchtime. It was a close meeting at lunchtime.
Done in 75 minutes.
Done in 75 minutes due to the incoming rain. Connor Mountain and Connor Bailey got 12 points between them, comparing to the Sheffield reserves only getting 2 points. Ty Woffenden was on fire. Hope this form goes into the Grand Prix series. Sheffield kept themselves in it for the second leg on Thursday. Perhaps that's a good opportunity for us to talk about the upcoming Grand Prix season. Mm-hmm. Can we see anybody challenging Mr. Schmarslik?
Well, I think the one probably first in line is going to be Freddie Lindgren. Mm-hmm. Obviously had a terrific season last year. He's really the only one I think that is capable over a full period of the season stopping Bartos getting under the championship, because he just seems to be dialed in so much into these GPs at the moment. I mean, he probably in a lot of the GPs last season he maybe wasn't at his best, but he was grinding out wins. And if he's
certainly at the beginning of the season,
yeah. I mean, he was poor at Cardiff. And because he won his semi-final, and everybody's thinking he's going to do it again, and of course he didn't. So, but no, I think it'd be it'd be a brave man to bet against him winning it again, to get in the third championship in a row, which should obviously equal Ivan Major's record, because he's the only one to do it 3 times.
Yeah,
in a row,
that's supposed to be the big thing, isn't it? That getting 3 on the row is supposed to be very, very well. Obviously, it's very difficult. Where do you see Ty this year? Because I mean, he has started.
He started well. I think he needed to sort of get some more racing under his belt, and I think coming back to Britain was obviously a big part of that. I think he's basing himself back in this country now, because obviously he had been based over in Poland, where, as you know, Speedo is obviously, he's probably more of a attention from the media in Poland than it has in Britain, so he can maybe be a bit more sort of under the radar a little bit, living back in this country, and certainly he's had a very good start to the season in a lot of the matches that he's ridden so far.
I mean, he was on fire at Birmingham for sure. Although Leon Flint did beat him.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
Just thought I'd put that out there. Elliot Hunt, Joe Thompson laid down his bike as Drew had nowhere to go, so he should have been left in the race and got a point. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but from a referee's point of view, I don't think I think he has in that situation, he has to exclude somebody.
Is it the referee or is it the rule?
Well,
That's the issue.
exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it is definitely the rule in that. So it's too strict. There's not enough leeway in it. There needs to be some give. That's one of the rules that maybe they do need to do what they normally do with Speedway and take 33 words to say one thing.
Yeah.
You know? Dave Twine, I think health and safety should be first and foremost, not the ref. Most refs have not ridden a bike, but the ref's got to go by the rule book. That's literally his job or her job.
Yeah.
Rich Thomas says, was it Christine Turnbull or Dave Robinson?
It was Dave Waters, actually, was the referee. One of the most experienced ones as well. So
Ben Clifton wants to know what he's missed. Not a lot.
no.
Pete Clark, where would British Speedway be without a traffic cone on the start line?
Traffic cone with a broomstick.
With a broomstick in
stuck in the middle of it, yeah.
Okay, Bartek wasn't overly impressive in Poland individual meeting yesterday. I presume that's the golden helmet.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know who won that. How did Pavlichki do in that? I would like to know.
I'm not sure.
And Janowski as well. It was referee at Leicester on the 21st of March was Dave Waters. There you go. Mm-hmm. I think Bartek very often starts slow.
Yeah, he doesn't want to show his hand too early, does he, really?
I mean, he is a class act. There's no getting away from it.
Well, 4 World Championships tells you all you need to know, so...
There's plenty of them around the roads at Brum, never run out of them at Perry Bar, ain't that the truth?
Certainly he's around times, I can tell you that. So.
Pieter scored 7 and looked solid.
Yeah, I think there's going to be pressure on him because he's going to be expected to fill the number 1 spot very, very quickly.
I'm just glad to see him in turning up, and I mean, I got to talk about all the naysayers that are going, oh, it's just Lawrence Rogers signing somebody that's not going to come and blah, 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 all of this sort of stuff. Absolutely ridiculous, by the way. Kubera won yesterday. Okay.
Good rider, Dominic Kubera.
At the press and practice, when he didn't turn up because he had a last-minute doctor's appointment, and you're going to take it, aren't you?
Of course, yeah.
You're going to take it. Some of the things said, oh, he was never going to turn up. Like, it's just a sham, etc., etc. I've got to tell you, his Kevlars were there hanging up in the pits for him, so we was expecting him to turn up. It was a last minute. Just shut up. Pieter looks right at home in those Brummy Kevlars too. Is there a picture of that? Or is this more of the same? Okay.
Oh, we caught up.
Okay, good. There's no meetings tonight.
No, not tonight, no.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be with this rain anyway, would there?
No. We've got a few meetings, obviously, in the next week or so.
Okay, so I think what we should do now is, because what we haven't done, which we normally do, and I'm quite pleased that we haven't done that this year, we haven't done our predictions. I don't think we're going to do that, thanks. Because I'm going to go for Birmingham to be in the top 4, and I don't want to look like an idiot. So,
well, we'll have a look. Certainly, have a look through the.
Let's have a look through all the teams in the Premiership. We'll start off with and see how We'll give a little bit of how we think they're doing.
Before you do that, are we going to do the prediction league this season?
Of course, we're going to do the prediction league this season, and we're just going to leave lots of work for you over the next couple of weeks. But more of that later. See, Mr. Harris hasn't learned to spell his name properly.
Yeah, it's Mikhail Harris. It is on the screen.
Is he?
Is it?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's only been there for 3 years.
Yeah. I noticed it a couple of times. I just wondered whether you were going to notice it. So
I hadn't noticed it. No,
yeah,
I thought he was Swedish.
Yeah.
Mikhail.
Good to finally put a face to the name in person last week too. This is probably the guy I was telling you about. I said I recognise your voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the one. That's the one listener. Okay. So shall we go through?
Yeah, Bellevue. You got Bellevue. You got Brady Kurtz, Dan Bewley, Jeremy Lidsey, Ben Cook, Norrie Bladorn, Connor Mountain, and Connor Bailey.
So how do we think they've started?
Well, they've only had a couple of matches, haven't they? They got beaten obviously at
Ipswich.
Yeah, and of course they won in the cup against Sheffield, won by 6. I'm not convinced that's going to be enough.
No.
My verdict on them is you don't rule them out, but I think they look a bit long in the tail.
Right.
I think they'll be okay at home, but I'm not convinced that they'll be winning, getting enough points on the road. They're certainly going to need Lidsey and Cook to build on 2023, which was very successful for them. Obviously, Norrick Bladorn's in the side as well, but he's been a bit of a trump card for Bellevue because he's been a reserve the last couple of years. Not going to be the case this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they look a bit vulnerable, Bellevue, to be honest.
Okay. Maybe that's who we should be targeting a win against then. Next up is...
Well, if we're going by alphabetical order, we'll obviously go for...
Birmingham. Go on then.
So,
Let's just... I mean, we've probably spoke a lot too much about them, but let's...
Yeah. Okay, so you've got Piotr Pavlicki, Vaclav Milik, Steve Worrell, Victor Lampard, Tom Brennan, Zach Cook, and Leon Flint.
On the face of it, best reserves in the league, possibly.
I think that's going to be the key thing. I think all season, really, Birmingham are going to have strength in the reserve, and obviously Zach and Leon obviously know each other anyway from being the reserves at Wolves last season. So,
I think it's going to help Milic not being in the first race.
I think it is, yeah, definitely. Yeah, having him back at number 5, it's tough going out in the first 8, really.
So much hinges on what sort of form Pavlicki brings.
Well, if it's the Pavlicki that we had 10 years ago, I mean, he was some of the moves he pulled off with us were brilliant. It was the problem was getting him there. Unfortunately, I think a lot of it was down to his Polish club, and that's always going to be a bit of a risk when you sign any
Polish riders,
races in Poland. On his day, Pavlicki is brilliant, but he just seems to have lost his way a little bit in the last few years. So maybe the coming back to Britain will help him.
That's what he's stated. That's why he's doing it. So everybody has said some really bad things about Birmingham. Everybody's taken pot shots at them. I don't think they're anywhere near as bad as people have been saying.
I certainly don't think it's going to be one of these teams that's going to lose every single week. I mean, obviously that was pretty much the case last season.
Yes,
but I get the impression in the early few weeks there's a bit more together. There's a bit more heart in this Birmingham team than there was last season. I think last season, once they went behind, I think that was it. They just capitulated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too many occasions.
I don't think Samo Malenko's going to let that happen anyway. And I've been quietly impressed by Sam this year. Yeah. So that's good. You've lost a few.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
That'll do.
Okay.
If Ipswich keep Dan Thompson in this form, they could breeze the league. He's head and shoulders the best RS this season.
Yeah,
so
we'll go on
far.
to Ipswich at some point in the review.
And Duncan Pemberton said we should put Birmingham's wooden spoon up. They are going to get us the prize for prediction league winner. Where is that? Is him predicting that he's going to be finished bottom?
Is that
of the
last
league?
season's wooden spoon or
Okay, you can take it down a little bit more. Yeah, because he says Rich Thomas says they're not that vulnerable, presumably talking about Bellevue. So
I think away there might be.
Okay,
might. So
and Spuddy's going to say Pietro will end the season on an average over 9. That would be good. I'd take that.
That'd be what Birmingham need.
Yeah, I'd take that. Okay, so next. Yes, so I think Milik did forget to turn his fuel on last night. Pretty sure that's what happened.
That is so. I thought that at the time. That's probably what happened. But it's a bit of a schoolboy error, as they say, that one. So.
I'm sure everybody's done it.
Okay, let's move on to Ipswich then. So we've got Emil Saifutinov, Jason Doyle, Danny King, Keenan Rue, Adam Ellis, Jordan Jenkins, and Dan Thompson.
I don't see any weakness in that team.
I think, what have I put here? They haven't made wholesale changes for a start. They could have done that after missing out last season. I think the key man for them is going to be Adam Ellis because he had an awful season last year. Of course,
he started off really well, hasn't he?
Culminating obviously in losing his place at Sheffield. So they've made tweaks. I think they look stronger than they did last season. I think last season they were probably a bit too dependent on Solihull and Doyle. You know, I mean, obviously I know Emil's had a couple of iffy matches so far this season, but I think he'll soon get himself settled in. I mean, he was a breath of fresh air last year in the league, not just on the track but off the track as well. I'm looking forward to seeing him back at
I'm looking forward
again.
to seeing
Both him and Jason Doyle as well.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Emil Solihull, when his very first match in this country, riding for Coventry, was against Birmingham at the Perry Bar circuit.
The crowd was enormous, wasn't
it? Just and he didn't disappoint. He was brilliant. Yeah. And he came on the mic afterwards and said, "If all the tracks in Britain are like this, it's going to be great."
Yeah, he did. I think he did stay at Birmingham was his favourite track in this country, didn't he? So he's going to be looking forward to coming back to Perry Bar again. But yeah, I personally I've made Ipswich the favourites to win it this season. But,
I have as well.
As I say, I think the key man is Adam Ellis. Danny King's not had a great start, but he didn't have a great start last season, though, did he? But got better as the season went on. So
Ben says Browne will be competitive this year, and obviously being top flight means that you've got more options to make changes if required.
Yeah, I certainly think that Nigel Tolley will be very pleased with the two crowds that he's had this season.
Yes.
Because they've certainly been a vast improvement on what was coming through the gates in 2023.
Dylan's, but we'll talk about the superheat as well, by the way.
They're not nice when you lose them, are they? So.
I no. Felt for Malik in superheat last week, actually, as Jack Holder was out of shape and caused him to go down. He just went a second or two delayed. That is absolutely spot on. That's absolutely spot on. But, I mean, if he'd come off straight away, he'd have probably been back in. I thought it should have been an all-4 back, but I don't think it would have changed anything.
It was a bit of an anticlimax in the end, wasn't it, really? But,
don't think it would have changed anything, though.
Yeah.
Overall, it's not been too bad this season, barring last night, considering he's riding out of position. And we have to, we have to remember that he's riding out of position.
That's right.
A little bit, but he would still be in Heat 15. You would expect him to be in Heat 13, Heat 15. So I mean, I think we've actually made a prediction, both of us there, that we think Ipswich are
they would be my tip,
the standout team.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Kings Lynn then. So Kings Lynn have got Tobias Muslek, Vadim Tarasenko, Niels Christian Everson, Benjamin Basso, Michael Palm Toft, Patrick Waldolo and Anders Rowe.
Okay, I think that's a vulnerable team.
I think it's got a lot of potential, that team. I think there's going to be, there's a lot of exciting riders in that league. You've got, Tobias Muslek. I know a lot of Birmingham fans were hoping that he might end up at Perry Bar because he's such a good rider to watch. Needs to step up now to show that he's an out-and-out number one. Tarasenko was a huge revelation last season when he came over and raced for Peterborough, and he's going to be challenging Muslek for the number one spot. I think the key man really for them is going to be Niels Everson. He's been a terrific number one for the club in the past. He's not quite the rider that he was, but I think that experience in the middle order is going to be good. And I think the big thing for them is going to be having Rob Lyne back as the team manager for a second spell. He was there obviously when they had a successful spell in the old Premier League, and of course he's
remember it well.
And of course won the league with Peterborough a few years ago, didn't they? I was looking at this. I didn't realise the last time they got to the playoffs was 2018. They had a Birmingham style season last year, didn't they? They were the Birmingham of the Premier League. Yeah, they had about 40 riders ride for them in the end, didn't they? So, but I think they've got a lot of potential.
Okay.
In that team. I think it could be a really exciting team to watch. And
I think it's going to be an interesting match on Thursday.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough match for Birmingham. It's going to be a tough match.
But we've got riders that can possibly ride Kings Lynn well. It's a sort of Polish type track as well, isn't it? So.
That's right. Yeah, it's not. Kings Lynn have had been disappointment for me because Kings Lynn over in the past has been a terrific racetrack. He seems to have lost it a little bit in recent seasons, but hopefully they can make some improvements there because there's no doubt that Kings Lynn when it's on song is one of the best tracks in the country. It's a brilliant racetrack. I've never been there. I'd love to. It's one of the tracks that is on my list to go to at some point in the future. So. It's just a blooming long way. That's the problem.
I actually would like to talk about the super because it's come up again about superheats. Only in Speedway can you lose a match 45 all. which is what we did against
Well,
Sheffield.
didn't lose the match effectively because it was still a draw. It was just the extra point. So,
But that's essentially, how it feels.
yeah.
But it's also, it needs to, if you're going to have a superheat, it needs to be tweaked somewhere, because at the moment it just favours the teams with that have got the big number 1 and number 5. That's, which is obviously where. So if you build your team to be solid all the way through, it puts you at a disadvantage. Not sure that's right, but I don't know how you would change it. But I think I didn't like it. Don't like it. I was strong with a 45 all draw.
It's great when you win them. Obviously we had a few of them last season.
Yeah.
We lost a few of them and I didn't like, and then we won a couple of them and I thought, oh, this is good.
Okay.
It gives you. I suppose it gives you another race. It gives you another race on the night as well. So, and some of the superheats I saw last season were brilliant. I mean, obviously I saw the one at Bellevue, even though we lost it in the end. It was. I think every single rider was in first place, second place, third place, and fourth place during that race. It was incredible.
It's a really good YouTube video, that one. It's really good. I'm losing comments here. Sorry.
They're going too fast.
Slow down. Kings Lynn's strongest lineup for many years. Plenty of potential to grow averages throughout the side. Duncan Pemberton, this is a good question, actually. What do you guys think about Oxford running 3 teams this season? Do the Oxford promotion really expect their fan base to consistently turn out spending money to watch all the teams? I think it's a massive financial risk.
Well, I'm presuming that they've got to do that to get the number of meetings in, Ricard, because Roddy just in the top league won't get enough meetings in, and Roddy in the second tier won't as well.
Are there any other clubs doing that?
No, they're the only ones. They're the only ones riding in all 3.
The only ones that have ever done that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of them doesn't finish their meetings, and you would think, unfortunately, it probably would be the National League team. Finish all their meetings, unfortunately. But they've got to be lucky with the weather, which unfortunately we haven't been in the opening few weeks. So
we're talking about the superheat again here. Don't see why a draw can't just be given. No point for normal meetings, only needed for aggregate scores. And also, I mean, I was looking at it from a Birmingham point of view, but you should look at it from the away side's point of view. You get a draw, and then you're at somebody's own track to get the superheat, and you're possibly at a disadvantage there, and to get a draw and then come away with just the 1 point, and while the other team gets the 2 points, that's a bit of a kick in the nuts as well.
it is a little bit, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't like it. David Albrighton, we might talk about this. Would be good to see Brummies move with Blues into the Super Stadium. We'll have to see what happens. Birmingham Council selling everything off.
It's never going to happen. I'm sorry.
Why'd you say that? Because as I understand it,
it's not going to happen.
As I understand it, they want to make it into a multi-sport stadium.
Sports village, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not there.
It's
the ground that they're in at the moment. There will be, from what I've heard, that's going to be a sports complex, but it's not going to be big enough for a...
Because the site at the Wheels is
massive. It's huge.
Absolutely massive.
I've seen the new ground superimposed onto the site. And it's huge.
So there's room there. There's potential there.
What it is, they're thinking of the future. See, I mean, their plans are to bring NFL matches
right
to there, and they're going to need a big stadium. But I'll find out more on Tuesday next week.
Okay. Rich Thomas says, can't believe Oxford aren't being helped by the BSBA to run 3 teams.
Yeah.
Who knows? To be frank, in some countries, football matches end as a draw. It goes to penalties, so you can lose a league football match 0-0. It's a very Americanised thing.
It is, yeah. As is everything these days.
Just don't like it. First match on Eurosport is Birmingham versus Bellevue.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to be able to show off our new overalls to the world.
I have to say, I think the team suits that Birmingham got this season are very impressive.
Yeah,
I think they're really, really
they
good.
Are nice.
You know,
I do like them.
Yeah.
Pete's referring to the overalls that we wear on the track, though. We've all got nice new red overalls. Have you know?
No.
Nobody said
yours don't look new.
I remember the old Butcher's one. You looked quite smart in us years ago.
Duncan Pemberton thought Brum Council was bankrupt. Well, there's bankrupt and then there's council bankrupt, and it's different. It's different.
Right, let's move on to Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester, yeah.
So we've got Max Frick.
We need to think about the prediction league soon as well, don't we?
Max Frick, Ryan Douglas, Sam Masters, Luke Becker, Richard Lawson, Drew Kemp, and Joe Thompson.
They lost the other night, didn't they?
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I thought they might have enough to beat Ipswich. I mean, they were tipped as dark horses to do well last season, and they did look like they were going to. They looked like they were shoo-ins for the playoffs, didn't they? And then obviously we had this situation with Nick Morris. They eventually dropped out. Of course, they had that defeat at Peterborough. They only needed 34 points at Peterborough, and they just capitulated in that meeting. Obviously now Paul Cairns has taken over running of Leicester. Possibly, I think their Achilles heel might be at reserve. I think they might be a little bit suspect to the bottom end, especially away from home. But I certainly think they'll definitely be a playoff contender. You
would normally have Leicester as a shoe-in to get all their home matches, because home track advantage is quite strong at Leicester.
And obviously, having the three ex-Wolves boys there in Masters, Becker, and Douglas. I mean, I think
Becker's had a good start to the season.
I mean, Ryan Douglas, I think, was always going to go back to Leicester. Obviously, he's been with them before, of course. He's got to improve his form at Monmouth could always be a little bit suspect, but his away form was excellent for us. If he needs to be better at home if they're going to push on, but I think he probably will because it's a track that suits him.
So I think the jury's still out on the Leicester.
Yeah,
team
I think they'll be top four.
Okay,
I do think they'll be top four.
Okay, I am not going to make any predictions like that.
All right. Okay.
Massive shout out to Chris at OK T-shirt 2 for working wonders on the black Brum polos and jackets, along with the embroidery of the funky red overalls. Great to make bonds with local business. There you go.
Okay.
There's been a bit of that going on at Birmingham this year.
Yep.
It's pretty good. And talking of sponsorship.
Yes, we do have a sponsor.
We've got a sponsor.
Susie, yes. So-called Studios in Acock Green in Birmingham. It's a great venue, recording studios, and they have bands on and so forth. And it's a great little music venue. But very, if anybody wants to go down there and have a chat and you fancy doing a bit of recording or whatever, or even just watch a band, there's loads of stuff on. Just go to, I think it was socalledstudios.co.uk. Yeah. And they're on Facebook as well. Give them a like, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Regarding the prediction league, can that Corbett geezer be put off 15 metres at the start of it, please?
He pretty much was last year, didn't he? He still won it. So.
He sort of, yeah.
So let's move on to Oxford. So you've got Magic Yanofsky, Rowan Tungate, Nikolai Clint, Chris Harris, Charles Wright, Lewis Kerr, and Ashton Boven.
I think that people have been unkind about this Oxford team, saying that they're going to just finish just above Birmingham.
I think they'll be spoilers.
Ashley Bowen was I'm slightly impressed by him yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw him was in the youth championship meeting at Perry Bar last season, and I was impressed with him in that one. But really, he shouldn't have been getting any points last night at all. That was a massive blow. I think Leon losing to getting beaten by him. Although I think he will be a very, very good rider in time. He's obviously only very young. I think having Lewis, I think their trump card is going to be probably having a strong reserve most of the season. I mean, Lewis Kerr probably didn't ride that well last night there, but I think certainly he'll be very good as the season goes on. Bomber's bomber, you know what you're going to get with him, don't you? Charles Wright had a very good season last year for Bellevue. Of course, it was ended by that bad crash in Poland. He always goes well at Oxford as well. I think he won the championship best pairs.
Always goes well at Birmingham as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Rowan Tungate, I thought, impressed me last night.
I was going to say that, yeah.
He was the surprise one because I thought, we haven't seen him, he hasn't ridden over here since 2019, and I thought, is he still going to be able to do it? But he certainly looked very
I was impressed with Tungate.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so...
Sheffield are next.
Sheffield.
So you've got Jack Holder, Ty Woofington, Chris Holder, Josh Pickering, Carl Howarth, Dan Gilks, and Jason Edwards.
Possibly a little bit long reserve.
I'll tell you what I think their key man's going to be, Chris Holder.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of emphasis on Chris Holder, some of them signing him on the basis of the Chris Holder of 10 years ago. He's not that rider now. I thought he was disappointing at Perry Bar the other week. Obviously, he won one heat when he got out at the start. I think away from home he might have a couple of meetings where he's not quite on it. I think he'll be all right at Overton, but I think he'll be a key man. I think, and I think at reserve as well. Dan Gilks obviously showed plenty of promise last year, and Jason Edwards has made steady progress as well. But it's
compared to some of the other reserve pairings,
they're certainly. When you compare them to the Birmingham reserves, for example. Birmingham reserve for me are a lot stronger at reserve than Sheffield are. That might be their Achilles heel. They are the bookies' favourites, I think, and obviously with the Holder brothers and Ty at the top end, and Josh Pickering. Well, I mean, you're going to get with him, don't you? He's all action as well. So they're going to be in there. You'd be a fool to write to.
It's really a tight league. We're going to see some strange results this year, I think.
Well, I'll give you my top four. I know you're going to sit on the fence.
Yes.
But I'm going to go for Ipswich to win it, Sheffield to meet them in the final and be runners-up, Leicester third, Kings Lynn fourth.
Interesting.
Kings Lynn will just edge out Oxford and Bellevue.
So you're putting Birmingham at the bottom then?
Yeah. I am putting Birmingham at the bottom.
As it stands at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
of course. I think Leicester have got more steel in the middle of their team with obviously our 3 ex-riders as well, so that'll help them. And I was to say, Kings Lynn, I think, have got a lot of... It's a massive season for Kings Lynn. They've had 3 pretty awful seasons. I mean, they've got to perform this year, and they've got to keep a stable team as well. I mean, they've gone through far too many riders over the last few seasons. So if they can have that solidity and a lot more, and some exciting racing, I think that'll be good for them. But that's my top 4. But I've gone for Ipswich to win it.
My hope, for just talking on a personal note now, for Birmingham is that if things don't go well, that they make changes a lot quicker than they did last year.
Yeah, they just waited too long, didn't they? And
yeah, absolutely. But anyway, that's... Before we go on to the prediction league, we should mention something actually. We lost Graham Drury over the winter. Was one of the key players in bringing Speedway back to Birmingham. You always knew what you got with the Graham Drury side. He knew how to build a Speedway team, and it's just, from a personal point of view, it's really sad.
Yeah, that was a nice thing they did last week, really playing his voice over during the minute silence.
The interview that we recorded.
Yeah.
So we was it was nice. It was good.
Still available on YouTube if anyone wants
rest in peace, Graham. It was a long life in Speedway at the end of the day. So
absolutely,
it was.
Right. We've got a few predictions coming up here. Kings Lynn, Ipswich, Sheffield, Oxford, said Simon Corbett.
In that order?
In that order, I presume. Ipswich, Oxford, Sheffield, Lynn, says Rich Thomas. So, right, talking of predictions, shall we start the prediction league?
Okay, so week number 1, let's go for the first one.
Okay.
Apologies, we haven't really emphasised on the other 2 leagues, have we? But there's been more going on in the Championship, so we will get on to the other 3 leagues in future shows.
We absolutely will.
So first up, BSN Series, Oxford against Poole.
Oxford versus Poole.
Don't start with me.
We'll start with Matt.
Poole by 10.
Okay, Poole by 6.
Yeah, I'm going to say Poole by 10 as well.
Okay, next up, Kings Lynn against Birmingham on Thursday. An old rivalry. A bit of a grudge between the 2 of them for many years, wasn't it?
It was Graham Drury and we won't go into that. Okay, it's up to you.
Sorry, what?
Kings Lynn versus Birmingham.
Oh right, okay. I'll go Brummies by 4.
Okay.
There you go. How's that then?
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a superheat.
I can see the confidence is still there.
Stupidity. So I'm going for a draw.
That's always been there.
I'll go Kings Lynn by 6.
Okie dokie. I'll probably take that, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, second leg of the of the quarter-final of the Knockout Cup. Birmingham already in the semi-final, by the way.
Yay!
That's the downside of being in a league that's only got
6 teams.
yeah. So Ipswich against Leicester. It's on Thursday.
Oh gosh, it's up to me, innit? I'm going to say Ipswich by, pick a number, 12.
Yeah, I'll go for Ipswich by 10.
I'll go for Ipswich by 8.
Okay. In the other quarter-final, second leg of that one, Sheffield against Bellevue.
That's up to you. That's going to be interesting.
Sheffield by 14.
Who's up to? Sorry, mate.
Up to you.
Sorry, who is it against?
Sheffield versus Bellevue. Keep up.
I'll go Bellevue by 6.
I'm going to say, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you listening to anything that we've said?
I'm multitasking, so
I'm going to say Sheffield by 8.
okay.
Okay.
There's always a shock in there.
Yeah, okay. In right then, on Friday in the BSN series, Scunthorpe against Redcar.
Okay, this is up to you, Chris.
I've just been.
No, that was Matt. Matt did that one. This is yours now.
Okay, so who was it?
Oh, keep up, for goodness sake.
Scunthorpe against Redcar.
Scunthorpe versus Redcar.
Scunthorpe.
Can't get the help,
Yeah,
can you?
I'll go Scunthorpe by 10.
Yeah, I'm going to go Scunthorpe by 8.
Well done, well
Thank
done.
you, sir.
Well done.
You had your chance.
It's not just me.
Scunthorpe by 8 as well. Now you've said that.
I'll still stick with Scunthorpe by 8.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, also on Friday, Edinburgh against Glasgow in the first Scottish derby.
Edinburgh versus Glasgow. Wow. This would be down to me, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to be close, I think. I'm going to say Edinburgh by 6.
That's not close, is it?
That's it's only one,
Draw is
three,
close.
Single
3
point.
4 twos, yeah.
Okay. Glasgow by 8.
Oh, I'll go
It's which Scottish team you want to annoy the most?
Edinburgh by 6.
Okay. Okay. Also in the BSN series on Saturday, Workington against Scunthorpe.
It's up to you, Matt.
Scunthorpe by 4.
I'll go Scunthorpe by 10.
Do we think Workington have overstretched themselves this year? I'll say Scunthorpe by 4.
I was surprised they moved up, to be honest. Although, really, you can say in that, I think they're in the National League now, with obviously with the loss of Mills and all as well in Kent. I mean, that league's just completely all the way now, isn't it, unfortunately?
Yeah, well, at least it's going. We wasn't sure it was going to go for a while. We should probably talk about that in a future site.
Yep. Okay, next up is Berwick against Glasgow, also in the BSN.
It's up to you, Chris.
Isn't it? I'll go Glasgow.
I'll say Glasgow by 6.
I'll say Berwick by 4.
Interesting.
Yep. Okay. On Sunday in the National League, Leicester against Edinburgh.
In the National League.
Yep.
Is me. I'm going to say Leicester by 10.
Leicester by 16.
Leicester by 12.
Okay. And last up on Monday in the Premiership, Bellevue against Leicester. That'll be an interesting one.
It's up to you, Matt.
Bellevue by 6.
Bellevue by 12.
I'll go Bellevue by 8.
Yeah, I do agree with you actually on Workington. Although I think, as I've said, possibly the fall in the National League has really contributed to them
Doing that.
Moving up. So,
Are we done?
we are, yeah.
We are done.
Before we do go, can we just apologise for the staggered start to our Speedway
Season,
Tavern
yeah.
season? Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't been very well for the last few weeks due to recurrence of an old problem from 2017. But I'm getting back on track. But it looks like the next couple of weeks are going to be a bit hit and miss. I mean, as it stands at the moment, there won't be a show next week, but there may be.
Okay.
But if it's not, there won't be one the week after.
the week after,
Because you're away.
Yeah,
So
so-
we will get back on track eventually.
Yeah, so, it's great to be back.
Yeah.
I think it's been for Speedway. I think we should talk about that, actually, what the just to finish on a high note, the difference that Phil Morris has made this year.
Yeah, I think so.
For a whole week, probably a bit longer, every day you woke up and turned on the SPA website, and we've been sponsored by such and such. Next day, we've been sponsored by such and such. That's really refreshing. Has that ever happened before?
Not for quite a few years.
I found that was like, okay.
Actually, I just remembered as well, we're talking about Workington. We should applaud them, of course, because they've obviously got Celine and Leibman in their
yes,
team. So
yes, absolutely. And has been scoring points as well.
Scoring points, obviously, that's a huge statement for Speedo. Obviously, there's a female rider in a team for the first time. So
yeah, absolutely.
How many female riders are there at the moment?
Don't know, but in teams, it's
well,
one.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's certainly done pretty well. I mean, obviously she rode in the Peter Craven meeting. She was maybe a bit out of her depth in that one, but certainly the points that she's got, the meetings that she's run so far, she's done well in. So we wish her well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a huge statement from British Speedway to.
That is, and perhaps there should be more in the media about that.
Yeah, there should have been, to be honest.
And perhaps if Phil Morris had been in charge of Championship as well as Premiership, there would have been.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe that's something. Maybe that's the next step.
Yeah, as I say, apologies, we haven't really touched on the Championship or the National League, but I'm sure we will do in future shows.
Absolutely. I mean, they've only really just started to get going, haven't they?
So.
Can I just quickly backtrack? So why isn't Phil Morris in charge of Premiership and Championship?
Because he hasn't been asked to be in charge of the Championship.
So who's in charge of the Championship?
The teams that are in the Premiership, that are in the Championship. Sorry.
Yep.
Yes. Well, that's how it's always been, isn't it? You know, and which is why I said at the beginning. It feels like that decisions are being made for the interests of Speedway rather than the interests of separate clubs. Because that was, whether that's true or not, you're leaving yourself open to that accusation.
That's right.
You know. So now. That's the big breath of fresh air. The media day was a really good idea, and hopefully it'll be something that they will build on. Whereas before they'd have gone, it didn't really work the way we wanted it to, so we won't do it again. Yeah. Hopefully they will learn to put something on Ty Woffington's mouth.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. So.
You know, but they'll learn from it and take it and expand it and make it better. Some of the decisions that have been made, I think, are really, really positive, and it feels positive. You look at the BSPA website now; it's much more on the ball with what's happening.
That's right. I mean, you can do all sorts on there now. You can download the official score charts as well from meetings and things like that. You can book training days, you know, for other clubs. Yeah, so it all seems to be sort of slowly starting to.
You can see his influence, can't you?
Yeah.
And you can see the influence of his being in charge of the GPs as well. You know, so that he's brought some of that over to. Pete Clark says Phil Morris should be put in charge of all the leagues.
I think he's got enough on his plate at the moment with the top league. So
I think he has, yeah.
Maybe when he's sorted, maybe when he's happy with with how the Premiership's run, he will look at some of the.
But maybe it's just a case of filtering down what's happening in the top league into you know.
Absolutely,
we will see. Oh, and that's someone saying.
You need to go.
Yes. It's been great. Maybe see you next week. Rich Thomas says, "What did Waffy do?" Have a look on YouTube and you'll find out. Yeah, we will hopefully see you soon, and all the best for you and your team. Take care. Bye bye.
Good night.
Have a drink, and you say all opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern.